Well, let's go ahead then and start with the guards as far as the draft.
Yeah.
So they get Ratledge in round 2, and then they come
Mhm.
back and get Frazier in round 5, a couple of SEC guards.
Yeah.
And they're the 2 picks out of the 7 that Detroit made. The both Georgia kids are my favorite picks, Ratledge and Jackson.
Yeah.
But these because they're typical Dan Campbell guys. This
Oh
is
yeah.
exactly these are the guys that just are what the Lions try to do, and this is what reflects off the coach, and that's
Mhm.
why I like Ratledge. And I was a little bit surprised that he was a second round guy. I didn't think going into the scouting process he was going to be. I thought he was going to be one of those fourth round guys that was going to show you that he was really better than anybody thought. But he got the respect and deservedly
He
so.
did. He tested incredibly well for a guy his size. And I will say, I'm kind of with you on it. I thought he was a third round guy. I didn't think that. Now, his range and run blocking, and I actually just recently rewatched the Clemson game because I'm doing advanced work for next year's draft. And I was watching a lot of the Clemson because the entire Clemson defense is going to get drafted next year. And like, he had a couple of blocks like, holy crap, dude. Like, you're 25 yards down the field planting a safety, like engaging him with balance. Like that's Dan Campbell for sure.
That's right.
I do worry he's a little tall for an interior guy and plays tall, but he's certainly capable of being a good NFL starter and a good one right away. So he's got the leg up at being the starting right guard, and he's certainly got the experience for doing it. Now in rookie minicamp, he did cross train at center, but that's sort of just because they don't really have a backup center long term for sure, and perhaps short term we'll see, depending on what happens with Graham Glasgow. So he's fun, and then Miles Frazier, coming out of LSU, get him a couple of rounds later, solid player. The thing I like about Miles Frazier is, and he talked about this when we talked to him a couple weeks ago at the rookie minicamp. Like 4 guys on that LSU line got drafted. He understands what it's like to be like part of a group that has a lot of responsibility on it and means a lot and plays together. And that's very much what the Lions are on their offensive line under line coach Hank Fraley, who is one of the best, if not the best in the business. And Hank's a master developer. He's got 2 very fun toys to work with. Christian Mahogany from last year, 6th round pick, will be a starter at one of the guard spots this year. Looked fantastic in his late season audition. He started in the playoff game, looked pretty good. So there shouldn't be much of a drop off from Kevin Zeitler, and that's no disrespect to Zeitler at all because I love the guy. But the Lions have the potential to not fall off there, and that's the hope.
And do you think that if everything goes as planned, that Mahogany and Ratledge will start week 1?
It sure seems that way. Look, Graham Glasgow can back up all 3 positions very effectively. He's still not super expensive for that, and he's another guy. His play from the beginning of 2024 to the end of 2024, like, oh my God, what the hell happened to this guy? Like he was actually Pro Football Focus's worst graded offensive lineman, regardless of position, over the last 8 weeks of the season. So that tells you that they needed something help. Now, if they drafted Ratledge and Frazier and it pushes Glasgow back to being good again, I'm good with that.
Sure.
That's the story I want to write. Like that's cool.
Well, at the very least, even if he, like you said, he gets off to a great start, wins the job, you would think that they're going to spell him a lot more. Right. So he is fresher at the end of the season.
Yeah, and he is the best backup center on the team. And whenever Frank Ragnow has gone out, All-Pro Frank Ragnow, got to throw that in. When he has gone out, Glasgow has moved into the center and has played acceptably, even better than acceptably in that role. So like that's a nice little problem to have. When you're worried about which good offensive lineman will be the odd man out, instead of, oh my God, which guy who was on a CFL practice squad last year is going to start for us this year. And there are a couple teams that are like that. You're going to get to one of them later this week. Cole,
Okay.
I'm fascinated to hear Cole Thompson talk about the Texans' offensive line, because that's
Yeah, he can
every
be.
single person we're talking about would be the best guard in Houston this year.
Wow. Okay. Then that will be an interesting conversation, especially since they're supposed to be the hands down easy choice to win the AFC South this year.
They probably should be, but still,
Hey, it's the NFL.
They have
never
their
know.
flaws. Yeah.
Okay, so Giovanni, I know he was a project.
Whew. Yeah.
And that we're still in project mode. You believe that it's still too early for him, right?
The hope is that he can win the number 3 tackle position on his own merit this year. I mean, and this is like, he literally was such a project playing Canadian college football. He literally did not know that he could move his left foot first off the snap. Like, they had to teach him that.
Yeah.
That's how massive. Now, yes, he's a massive project. When we got a first look at him in pads last year, like, all of us in the media were like, okay, we get it. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Take your time with this guy, because physically, good Lord, he is a more athletic Jordan Mailata in terms of potential. Will he ever get to that level? God, I hope so. That'd be great.
Yeah, it's one of those deals, especially on the offensive line. You really want to see those things come through, especially at a 4th-round pick. Okay, let's stay on offense and talk about the 2 wide receivers that were drafted, beginning with Tesla from Arkansas. And, of course, later on, they go ahead and get Lovett from Georgia. But this is one of those kids that really you didn't even know who the hell he was when the season began last season, based on where he came from, and now he's a 3rd-round draft pick.
Yeah, so he was a pretty good player at Hillsdale, which is a D2 school here in Michigan. Isaac Tesla, by the way, is a local for me. He's from Hudsonville, Michigan, which is a suburb of Grand Rapids. I actually covered him in high school.
That's cool.
The high school that he went to, Unity Christian High School, is in the same conference that my kids play in, or my son played in, my daughter plays in now. They're a little bit of a rival. He's a phenomenal athlete, just ridiculous. Won a state title in Michigan as a triple option wing T quarterback.
Okay.
His dad was a wide receiver at Hillsdale, so he went there, small D2 school. He transferred to Arkansas, spent 2 years there. Arkansas had no clue what to do with a 6'4" kid who was still learning how to play wide receiver. They stuck him in the slot. They didn't have a very good offensive scheme. They didn't have great quarterback play. So his stats were very underwhelming. I'm not sure he caught 30 passes either year at Arkansas. But he proved at the Senior Bowl that he could reliably get open and catch absolutely everything and anything thrown anywhere near him. One of the best things that I can say about him is he goes and attacks the ball away from his body like an all-pro wide receiver already. There are certainly things that he has to work on, but you get the excitement and why the Lions were interested in him and why the Bills and Saints were going to draft him very shortly thereafter had the Lions not done it. He's raw-ish, but he's a bright kid. He's going to learn very quickly. He is understudying this year with Tim Patrick, who's 32, oft injured, 1-year contract. Like this is a succession plan.
Okay.
Whether that succession happens in 2026 or week 4 of 2025 is sort of up to Tesla. And I would not bet against him on that.
Yeah, I mean, when you bring those measurables, the size, the speed, and all that kind of stuff.
And I've seen him. He's a beach volleyball player on the side. Like if you know anything about beach volleyball, which was a sport that I played religiously for many years, if you can explode out of the sand, like that translates so well. Your body control in the air has to be tip top as a beach volleyball player. He's got that. And that's going to help him as a wide receiver quite a bit. So Like he's got to learn some footwork things on the route running. He's got to vary his speeds a little bit. Like there's certainly nuances to the position that he's got to learn, but the blocking is there. The athleticism is there. The will is there. He is a definite grit fit. He showed up to his private workout with the Lions wearing a Lions jersey from when he was a kid. Like, how cool is that? That's
nice.
It's
Helps.
it's a really cool story. By the way, he's also the guy who Amon-Ra St. Brown got famous last year for doing the celebration where he stood on his head. Tesla actually did that first when he was at Arkansas, and one of the few times that they threw him the ball, he scored. And he's known for his touchdown celebrations too, so he's got a little bit of flair to him.
So a lot of nice little local ties here in the wide receiver room.
Yeah, I am predisposed to liking him. I got to put that out there right away.
Why not?
But I like him anyways.
Even Ronnie Bell, who they picked up, coming from Michigan. And I remember when Ronnie Bell.
He deserves more credit. And I tend to honestly forget that he's on the team sometimes. He's got a chance to score a role this year that he kind of got lost in the shuffle so far. And I like he's taking the place of every year, and Lions fans who are watching now know this very well. Every year there's a street free agent wide receiver.
All right.
Whether it's been Tom Kennedy, it's been Caden Davis, it's been Andrew Peacock. Like there's always one who like the fans just latch onto, and like he winds up being like the fan favorite and leads the team in receptions in the preseason, and then gets cut and winds up starring in the UFL or winding up on the Panthers practice squad or something. That seems to be his role this year, but I hope that he can do more because I liked him coming out of college. I thought he was like a 4th or 5th round pick, and it hasn't worked for him. But he's somebody that I should probably pay more attention to in my coverage of the team. That like he's on this, and there's a chance for him to stick around.
Yeah, I don't know whether or not he's ever fully really recovered in a way from the ACL injury. Because I remember in that first game of that season, the 2021 season, as a Michigan fan, he was going to be a big deal for that team.
Oh, yeah.
And he returns that kick for a touchdown, I believe it was. It's like, here he goes. It could be a Heisman season. And then he gets hurt. And then boom. And then he's never been back to that since then.
No, he hasn't.
7th round draft pick, like you said, instead of 3rd or 4th. And then just never really latched on with the Niners, never really found his niche, but he's still only 25 years old. So you never know.
Crazy. Feels like he's been around forever.
Yeah. It does feel like he's been around for at least 5 years and he hasn't. So maybe he just needs a chance. And look, there's a shot here in this Lions room. There's no question. And another guy he's going to compete with is Dominic Lovett, who was taken in the 7th round. So what did you think about that pick?
He is a special teams pick, and he kind of knows that too. He sort of intimated at that when we got our media time with him after the rookie minicamp. He is going to compete for the return jobs. He knows he has to improve his versatility as a receiver. Now, I will say this. He might be as fast as Jamison Williams in terms of getting from a dead stop to top speed, and his top speed is pretty darn impressive. He's got to figure out, like, Georgia used him a lot on like little bubble screens and quick throws and try to do something in space, almost as like an extension of a running back at times. And I wonder if that role is there for him in Detroit because they already have Khalif Raymond there, and Leaf is a team captain. Like, he's beloved, and he is that undersized speed outside guy. So it's going to be tough for Lovett to make this team. I think he's a stash. Like, if he's going to make it, it's going to be on special teams. Or if Raymond or somebody else gets hurt above him, that's probably his only shot to get on the roster, honestly.
And is that also, speaking of special teams, I mean, we talked about last year's 4th round pick, Vaki.
Special teams. He's ostensibly on the roster as a running back. He's special teams.
Yeah.
He was general manager Brad Holmes. He was last year's gift to special teams coordinator Dave Phipp in the draft, and it's pretty clear from the running back pecking order last year. Like, he's not close to being number 3. Craig Reynolds is clearly the number 3 running back. If you're going to be a number 4 running back, you better be awesome on special teams, and that's Sione Vaki. He was as advertised, earned the PFWA All Rookie Special Teams Player designation. He certainly merited that.
Speaking of the receivers, Jameson Williams is I mean, can you count on him?
Yes.
Okay.
He grew up a lot last year, both in terms of his development in his game and in terms of being a professional. And I think he takes it more seriously while still being playful. And that's exactly the way you want him to be. Like, you don't want him to lose JMO, but at the same time, you wanted him to lose a little bit of the JMO. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I think he did a pretty good job of that. He's going to be fun. He's got arrows way up on him.
Okay. So everything that happened to him late last season, those distractions, don't worry about that. You're saying
he's good. Yeah, he's good. There was a weird thing with the Detroit police that actually wasn't his fault at all. He was sort of I don't know. It worked out in his advantage that he was a lion, but like he's good. He's got his latest Instagram pic. He showed, like, he opened his refrigerator, like, meat drawer, and it was full of Capri Suns. Like, you gotta love this guy.
What was it full of?
Capri Suns, like the juice packs.
Okay.
He's all about it. He's been interesting to cover. A lot less frustrating lately, and that's a very good thing.
So, according to you, the way you sound, he should be ready to take that next step this year.
I'm a big believer in JMO. Absolutely.
Okay. And by the way, before we move over to the defensive guys, Jackson Meeks, does he have the best chance out of the UDFAs on offense? Because we know he had a big year last year at Syracuse with Kyle McCord there. I guess he didn't test as well as
he did not. He did not test well, and that actually showed in the rookie minicamp. He's not fast. he's not even not fast. Like, he's really not fast. He moves like a tight end. And I'm kind of surprised that he actually doesn't play tight end. I don't remember. Like, he was at Georgia, I believe, before he went to Syracuse.
Yep.
It's weird that Syracuse had Aronde Gadsden and moved him from tight end to wide receiver, and Meeks didn't do the opposite. But I'm not the Syracuse coach. So he's got a
15 pounds on him, 20 pounds.
Yeah, I do have to shout out my guy Anthony Tyus, the third from Ohio University. Go Bobcats, proud alum. We don't get many in the NFL. I got to hype him up. He's got a shot. He is the number 5 running back. That's not a roster position, but he's certainly got a shot to stick on the practice squad. And if anything happens to Craig Reynolds and or Sione Vaki, he can step up into that role. He's also not fast, but he's a very good receiver and good pass protector. He started at Northwestern before he transferred and spent his final year in Athens. Helped us win our MAC title in Ford Field. He scored 2 touchdowns in that game, including 150 yards of rushing, leaping over a Miami defender along the way. We hate Miami, so that was a very great game. And I'm forever thankful. I'm very grateful that I got a chance to talk to Tyus after rookie minicamp and thanked him for that on behalf of all Ohio Bobcat fans. So all for the Bobcats out there, root for Anthony Tyus. He's a great dude.
Yeah, I mean, they were very fortunate when Solich left. You figured, well, things weren't going to be that good anymore. And then boom, they actually got better, and now he's gone. And it's one of those things where, like we just talked about with the coaches, the head coaches are even harder to replace. Sooner or later, when you keep having success with these head coaches, sooner or later, you don't get that lucky. So
that's right.
You never know. So, okay, let's go to defense. And on the defensive side, 3 picks, starting with Tylik Williams from Ohio State, and defensive line, not much of a surprise considering the injuries and what happened to them late last season. So what do you think about this pick? What did you think about the pick overall when they made it?
I loved it. He was a top 20 player for me. I believe he was the 20th player on my board. He is a great player. And one of the things that came out very quickly when the Lions started talking about him, whether it was Brad Holmes or Ray Agnew, the assistant GM, when they talked about Tyleik, is that they both saw him as more than just a nose tackle, that Ohio State used him as a nose, as a 0 or a 1, but he can certainly be more than that, and that's going to be his role. So look, Aleem McNeil is not going to be ready for the start of the season.
Okay.
So he's probably out until the bye is week 8. I doubt we see him before the bye. From when he tore his ACL, it was in late November, early December, I want to say.
Okay.
So he is very physically similar to Aleem McNeil. I think Aleem is a touch quicker. I think Tyleik is maybe a touch stronger, but the two of them can play together in time on the interior and be quite a dynamic duo. But at the beginning of the season, Tyleik is probably going to take over Aleem's role as the rush nose tackle. He didn't get many sacks at Ohio State, but go back to his freshman year when he was playing, I think it was 298 pounds. He did get 5 sacks on a very loaded Buckeye defense. So he does have some ability there. He is a guy that I love the fact that he's aggressive, but just like initial violence. And the other thing that I love about him, and I put this in my scouting report, he strafes in the run game without getting blocked for a guy his size better than anybody I've seen. He can just flow along and not get taken out of a play in run, from being in the A gap, he can make a play in the C gap or outside the C gap without it's uncanny, and they needed that because look at the guys that are on there. Levi Onwuzurike, 1-year deal. He might be gone.
It's just amazing that kid actually had the season last season. He had.
Oh yeah, amazing. And earned his way back into Detroit. That he's a fantastic. He had spinal fusion surgery and came back. That's insane to me. And he tells a story great. Like he's incredibly grateful, but you probably want to have a better backup plan than that long term. Nothing against Levi, but DJ Reader entering the last year of his contract. He's sort of at the end. Josh Paschal, last year of his contract, hasn't really worked out super well. John Kaminsky, who was sort of in one of the roles there, he's gone. Like they desperately needed somebody in there, and Tyleik certainly fits the bill. I am very happy that I liked him a lot, and that the Lions did as well, because I saw the fit immediately, and I'm glad that they did.
Yeah, too. Makes a lot of sense. And then in round 6, Hassanin from Boise State, really their top pass rusher over the last couple of seasons. And again, don't forget, if you're a college football fan, watching Boise State in the playoffs last year, and he was a big part of that for Boise State.
Good player. Interesting player. He's the first Egyptian American. Now, he is an American citizen. He was born in California, went to high school in California after being a CrossFitter in Egypt. Like, he's got just this crazy backstory.
Okay.
He somehow, and I don't know how this happened, and they haven't let it out yet, he is part of the International Pathways program, even though he was born in America as an American citizen, graduated from an American high school, played high school football in America, played college football in America. Like, all of those things are supposed to be disqualifiers, and he still got it. I don't know how the hell that happened, but we're grateful because it's an extra roster spot.
Okay.
So, yeah, he is a vivacious personality. That's very clear already. He's probably not going to play a lot as a rookie, but anything that he can give, look, this is on-the-job training for him. He's only been playing football for, I think it's 5 years. He's got a lot to learn. He's very eager to learn it. He is he said he would die for his coaches, and I believe him. like
sounds like a Dan Campbell guy already.
Oh yeah, 100%. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
He certainly fits the grit, as we like to say in Detroit. So he's again probably not much of a contributor as a rookie, other than as a power to speed pass rush specialist as a rookie. That's sort of where he's at. Last year they had Mekhi Wingo in that role. Wingo is injured. He's probably not going to be back for the beginning of the season either.
Okay.
So he can fill that role as the 6th, 7th defensive lineman on an active game day. And hopefully he does something with it.
The edge. Well, let's start with Hutchinson. What's his timetable?
He's good. He can play today if they had to. So
great.
He's ready to rock and roll.
And then are they done? Do you think they're going to add a veteran?
So everything that I gathered from being over at the team facilities in the last couple of weeks is that they're good with what they've got, but like if something better presents itself, they're not going to say no. Whether it's Zadarius Smith, who finished the year capably last season, he's still out there. Oh, by the way, he still lives in Detroit. He's very active. Like he's been seen at Pistons and Tigers games. Like he's not gone anywhere. You haven't really heard about him looking to be signed anywhere or like, he is a guy who would be like, why am I not signed yet? That's sort of his personality. And there's been none of that from Zadarius. So he's sort of like the wild card in waiting. But again, I think they'd be happy and be satisfied going in with what they've got. But if Zadarius shows up in late June and says, hey, I want to play, they're not going to tell him no.
No, it's looking that kind of marriage there looks pretty
and some of that is some of that's related because Marcus Davenport is a starter and they love him, but he gets hurt literally all the time.
Yep.
He played one game, missed a game, and then got hurt. Tore his biceps or triceps, one or the other. Either one doesn't sound pleasant to me. And he's back now. But this is a guy who misses, double-digit games just about every year. It's not reliable. Josh Paschal, by the way, misses a lot of games, has missed a lot of different injuries over time, including cancer. It's tough to count on his durability as well. And they did lose John Kaminsky, who, didn't play at all last season because he got hurt in training camp. But, I would not mind them bringing in, whether it's Zadarius Smith or if there's another veteran that's out there. And I don't have the free agent list in front of me, but like if there's somebody out there that makes sense, who fits what they want personality wise, I think that would be a good fit. I would certainly encourage that. At least bring in competition for training camp and see what they got. See what you've got. Can Hassanin knock this guy off? I kind of like that. I'm a big believer in the old Pete Carroll style of every job is up for grabs every day in practice. And I think Dan Campbell believes in that too. And I think, if you get better competition in practices and in camp, that's going to make your team that much better.
Are you surprised that there isn't another, like they didn't attack another edge rusher this offseason?
I am a little bit. I'm surprised that they didn't get one earlier in the draft. Now that's nothing against the guys that they drafted in those spots, but I thought that because again, long term, you look at that, again, Paschal 1-year deal. Onwuzurike, who plays more outside now than he does inside, 1-year deal. Davenport, 1-year deal. Like they're going to have to address it at some point. It made sense to get a guy in earlier this year than what they did with Hassanin, but there's only so many draft picks you can have. They traded 2 of them to get to Slot, so like ties your hands a little bit.
Yeah, well,
they traded the year before. They traded the 3rd round pick in 2025 in 2024 to get Giovanni Manu in the 4th round. So like and now they don't have any 3rds next year. And that's actually one, if you're looking for a downside from the trade up like that, they don't really have that ability to go get a guy like Zadarius Smith in the middle of the season this year like they did last year. They've traded that draft capital away already. So that if you're looking to criticize Brad Holmes for something there, he's tied the hands of what they can do in the season because they have traded away both of their 3rd round picks next year. And they have 2 extra 6, but they traded away a 5th or something. One of the day 3 picks, they don't have it's I can't keep track of all that stuff, but
Yeah,
But
that's why
yeah,
I feel that they have to have a plan. Like they have to know
yeah,
that we're gonna sign this
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
It's
Let's
just not
just
gonna
say
happen
that
just now.
the Lions beat may or may not have already pre-written Zadarius Smith signing in Detroit, where I'll just sort of waiting to hit publish.
Pretty much.
Maybe.
That's it's just it just makes too much
Yeah.
sense. Sort of
Yeah.
like what we're saying with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. It just makes too much sense. And
Yes. Would agree with that.
yeah, so
Yeah.
we'll probably see that. Okay,
Yeah.
one more, and that is Dan Jackson. As I said at the open,
Dirty
Dan,
Dan.
yeah, one of my favorite picks in the draft for the Lions. Because I mean, this guy is just one of those really hard nosed, tough DBs that you love to see back there, especially when you can get him in round 7. And you understand why he's around 7. That's the type of guy he is. He's not going to come with all those measurables, but what he comes with is that Dan Campbell fire, and that's what you want to see. I think this guy's an NFL player. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind.
Everything done at maximum effort and speed and violence level. That's Dan Jackson playing safety.
SEC too.
Yes. You probably don't want him in man coverage against anybody in the NFL, but that's not what the Lions are going to look. He is ostensibly the replacement for Ifeatu Melifonwu in the defense. You don't want Ifeatu Melifonwu covering anybody one-on-one in man coverage either. Miami's going to find that out the hard way, I'm afraid. It's just not what he does. Dan Jackson going forward and going on special teams is great. And that's what his role is going to be. He's going to be the attack dog safety sub package. He's going to play on every special teams unit. And like Vaki was last year, he is this year's gift to special teams coordinator Dave Phipp in the draft.
4th round last year, 7th round this year. So
yeah,
but that's okay.
A little bit better value there. Yeah, I
like
Dan Jackson. And Dan's not lost in coverage. He's just not super reactive or instinctive. And again, much better going forward than going sideways or backwards, which is true of a lot of us these days.
Yeah, right. Okay, so interesting that, and again, this just shows you the development of the roster, that the UDFAs, there's really not one guy that just stands out.
So I'll give you one who should compete, and that's Ian Kennelly from Grand Valley State.
Grand Valley State. Okay.
Yes, which is local for me as well.
Yes.
So Isaac Tesla grew up in Hudsonville. It is in the next town over in Allendale. They are a D2 powerhouse. We have a couple of them here in the West Michigan area. Ferris State won the national title last year. Grand Valley is their big rival. GVSU. Kennelly is sort of the opposite of Jackson. He is a ridiculous athlete. He's big. He's rangy. He's a ball-oriented coverage safety, and he looked very good in that capacity at Grand Valley. Well, I saw him play in person many times, and in the rookie minicamp, he really stood out as the best safety there. And there were a couple of, like Eric Hallett, who's competing for that spot as a veteran. He Kennelly showed so much range and acumen in coverage. It's going to be tough for him not to make this team. If there is a UDFA at all who makes the team, my bet would be that it's Ian Kennelly.
Okay. And really, it's not like there's any Meeks, only because he's got the production from last year. So there's just not that. It's not like you see a whole lot of like names out there. But that's okay. Like I said,
Mason Miller should at least stick on the practice squad. He was North Dakota State's right tackle with Gray Zabel playing the left side. Lions are moving him into guard, and he's sort of a project there. But he's a guy that I would be surprised if he's not on the practice squad. Put it that way.
All right. Yeah, that's a very successful FCS program. So that's a nice one.